The winter of 1945 settled softly over the small town of Briarwood, Pennsylvania. Snow rested on rooftops like quiet memories, and the war had finally ended, leaving behind relief mixed with grief. Trains no longer carried soldiers away, but some never came back. At the edge of town stood a narrow white house with a sagging porch. Inside lived Eleanor Whitmore, a woman in her early 30s who looked much older than her years. Every morning she swept the porch, boiled her tea, and walked to the mailbox at the end of the road. And every morning she returned with empty hands. Eleanor had been waiting for a letter. 80 years earlier, though no one counted the years back, and in such a way she had fallen in love with Thomas Hale. He was a railroad clerk with ink-stained fingers and a shy smile. They met in the spring of 1917 when America was just beginning to feel the pull of a distant war. Thomas wrote letters the way poets spoke, carefully, honestly, and with hope. Eleanor kept every one. When Thomas enlisted, he promised he would write every week, and he did. From training camps, from ships crossing the Atlantic, from muddy fields in France. His letters were filled with small things, birds he saw at dawn, songs soldiers hummed to stay brave, and dreams of coming home to Briarwood. Then one day, the letters stopped. Weeks passed, then months. Finally, a telegram arrived. Formal, cold. Final regret to inform you. Eleanor folded it neatly and placed it in a wooden box with the letters. She never married. It's never left Briarwood. Some said she was waiting for a ghost. Others said for time to move forward. Years turned into decades. By the 1970s, Briarwood had changed. The train station closed. Children moved away. Lena grew old, her hair silver, her hands trembling. Still, every morning she checked the mailbox. 1. Autumn afternoon, a young postal worker named Daniel arrived in town. Briarwood was his last route of the day. He noticed the old woman standing by the road, wrapped in a faded coat, staring at the mailbox as if it might speak. Most days, it was nothing for her. But one day, there was a single envelope, yellowed, brittle, stamped with a date so faint it's almost invisible, 1918. Daniel frowned. The address was written in careful handwriting. Miss Eleanor Whitmore, Briarwood, Pennsylvania. Return address. No explanation. He hesitated, then handed it to her. Eleanor's hands froze. She did not open it right away. She carried it inside, sat at her small wooden table, and stared at the envelope as if it might disappear. Her breath grew shallow. Slowly she slid a finger under the seal. Inside was a letter. The paper trembled as she read. My dearest Eleanor, if you are reading this, then I am still hopeful. The days here are long, but thoughts of you make them shorter. I carry your last letter in my pocket. I read it when the nights are loud. When this war ends, I will come home, I promise. If this letter is delayed, forgive it. If I am delayed, wait for me. Signed, Thomas. Eleanor pressed the letter to her chest. Tears fell onto the paper tears. She had held back for a lifetime. The letter had been lost in a military mail depot, misfiled, forgotten. It had traveled through wars, floods, and time itself, only to arrive when both promise and youth were long gone. Daniel returned the next day. The house was quiet. Eleanor had passed peacefully in her sleep, the letter resting on her chest, her fingers curled around it as if she had finally been answered. At her funeral, only a few townspeople gathered. Daniel placed the letter inside her wooden box, beside decades of others. That evening, as the sun set over the empty train tracks, the wind carried a strange stillness through Briarwood. Some say that night, for the first time in 80 years, Eleanor was no longer waiting, and some letters, no matter how late they arrive, still know exactly where they belong.